you just picked up Assetto Corsa Competizione on PS5 or Xbox Series X or S? Are you struggling to get up to speed at a certain track? Are you unfamiliar with the intricacies of car setup? Or do you simply need help with finding an online race? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, then you're in luck, because we at TraxionGG have curated a selection of guides, videos and features describing and explaining the intricacies of Kunos Simulazione's awesome GT World Challenge simulator. Over the past 12 months, we've created track walkthroughs, setup guides, and explained many of the game's mechanics for the PC version of Assetto Corsa Competizione. And with the launch of the tremendous looking PS5 and Xbox Series X and S versions, it's only fair that we bundle the TraxionGG ACC Hivemind into one place, as a handy reference tool for players new to the series. After a rather shaky start to its console life, with the previous generation of consoles struggling to handle the graphical requirements of the game, Competizione has found its home on the 9th generation of consoles. There have been some stumbling blocks early on with bugs and glitches, but 505 Games have already said they will be working to iron these out as soon as possible. Boasting 60 FPS and up to 4K of resolution, it's finally possible to play the game without assembling a mid-range PC. ACC is based on the real-life GT World Challenge, an international championship for GT3 race cars. GT4 cars are represented in a DLC pack, with Porsche Cup and Lamborghini Super Trofeo cars also making an appearance. Unfortunately, not much is explained about how the game mechanics work in the simulator, which can be a little frustrating if you're new to the genre or the GT World Challenge. To help you with this, here are some of the key things that you will need to know when you fire up the game for the first time. It's worth noting that we have detailed guides for many of the things touched on in this video, so check out the links in the description for more information. Firstly, if you want to have fun with ACC, you will need to learn the nuances of each circuit. There are 19 tracks currently filling the roster, all of which are real circuits used in the various SRO organised championships. I have created detailed track guides for all of them based on the knowledge I've gained from racing in the GT World Challenge Esports Europe Endurance Series, and all of these can be found via the ACC Ultimate Track Guide playlist. The lap time targets are challenging, but with a bit of practice and patience, you'll get there. All ACC races begin with a rolling start. So far, so good. However, there are a couple of tips to ensure you push the boundaries of the rolling start procedure, so that you can gain as much track position as possible without incurring a penalty. Following the on-screen race start widget's instructions is crucial to avoid getting any drive-through penalties. You'll be told to stay to the left or right of the track and to maintain a certain speed. Going over the speed limit, which is 70 km an hour and 43 miles an hour by the way, won't automatically give you a drive-through, but doing it consistently will. Thankfully, there's a little leeway so you can adjust your speed on the fly. Positioning your car at the front of your appointed rolling start grid box is also paramount, but not quite as important as building tyre pressures during the formation lap. The key to nailing race starts is simply to practice the procedure again and again, especially vital when it comes to competitive online racing, as there's no restart button. It's quite self-explanatory to motorsport nerds, but the GTWC features a wide variety of manufacturers and car models with differing engine layouts. Some lend themselves best to high-speed cornering, while others are more stable. Occasionally, some cars in the game are quite simply overpowered at certain tracks. Be warned though, car balancing is an evolving entity in ACC, so your results may differ in future. The GTWC and National GT3 Championships commonly feature pit stops. Performing them in ACC is a fairly straightforward process, but the game tends not to provide enough detailed information on what to do. My first attempt at a pit stop in ACC led to a disqualification, prompting much confusion and a wee collection of splendidly Scottish swear words. Once you approach the pit lane, and of course you'll have practiced your pit entry multiple times, you'll need to engage your pit speed limiter just before the pit entry line, and then trundle along pit road until you approach your pit box. Don't forget to assign a limiter button before you start a race. Your pit box is normally marked with a red outline, although this can be turned off in the options menu if you want that extra bit of immersion. Your aim is to stop inside the red box so that the car can be lifted onto its jacks, allowing the tyre change and driver swap to begin. It takes practice to judge where the best place to stop is, and varies from car to car. Aim for one of the yellow chevrons on the stop board, and if your car is instantly raised on its jacks, you've nailed it. Finding the sweet spot takes practice, and it's always best to approach slowly and carefully. 2 seconds lost on entry is better than 5 seconds lost due to bad positioning, trust me. To initiate the pit stop, you must switch off the engine. I generally hit the ignition key on my keyboard. I don't assign it to my wheel just in case I hit it mid-race by accident, so console players take extra care with your button assignments. When your mechanics have finished, you must manually restart your car. 1 or 2 seconds before you regain control of the car, you will be able to hit the engine start button, and this is your cue to get your foot on the gas to enable a quick getaway when the car is dropped. Luckily, the pit limiter will still be engaged, so there's no chance of speeding. Both I and my frequent teammate and Traxion editor Ross McGregor have performed numerous perfect pit stops in ACC, and count our pit lane procedure as key to some of the best results in the past. It would be silly then to give away all our secrets, wouldn't it? Okay, fine, link is in the description below. It's worth noting that driver swaps are not possible at present on either PS5 or Xbox Series X or S. One of the unique features of the next-gen versions of ACC is the ability to create private lobbies for multiplayer racing. Private lobbies can allow up to 30 players to join and can be accessed via the multiplayer section of the main menu. From here, select server list, and the next screen will show an option to create private lobby on the left-hand side of the screen. At this point, you'll be able to set the format of the race, track, and cars. You can also change the server name and invite friends from your PlayStation or Xbox friend list. In our PS5 testing, this worked like a charm. There were a few minor graphical glitches, but the car hit zones and performances were smooth, enabling a lobby of racers to be competitive. We did note that once a race is complete, the lobby will simply start the same event again automatically. Should you wish to change track and event settings, a new lobby needs to be created. From tyre pressures to bump stop rates, ACC accurately replicates a breadth of real-life GT3 setup options. I've created a series of videos describing and explaining setup changes, all thanks to the real-life motorsport engineers, sim racing teammates, and esports experts I've worked with in the past. Make sure you check out all 3 parts if you would like a basic understanding of every single available setting. We also have a beginner's setup guide as an article on the TraxionGG website, and another couple of videos on troubleshooting specific setup issues and nailing your tyre pressures. From the outset, ACC has demanded huge attention to detail from its player base. I can't think of another sim where steering lock setup and adjustment are so important to lap time and how the car feels. Every car has a real-life steering rotation figure simulated in-game. Setting this up properly through your wheel in-game settings is crucial to obtaining the correct feel from each car. It really could be the key to unlocking lap time and consistency from your performances. For PC players, there's an inbuilt soft lock feature to guarantee the correct matchup between game and hardware, but for console players, it's imperative that you follow the suggested steering rotation settings to get the most from ACC. Even on PC, our advice is to set up your steering rotation as per these guidelines. If you've just purchased ACC and you're experiencing bizarre handling characteristics on PS5 and Xbox Series X and S, then it may be because the steering rotation has been set to 40 degrees by default. It's a bug we've discovered that simulates a super quick steering rack and will lead to overly twitchy handling. Readjust to your car's recommended figure for best results. Just to finish up, here are a couple of other small things worth noting. Engine mapping is quite a technical thing to simulate, but we provide all the information you would ever need. It's not that important in ACC, most top competitors rarely deviate from the fastest, most aggressive map. However, it doesn't hurt to know the effects of fiddling with different maps, or the type of scenario where it could genuinely save your race from disaster. These adjustments could be particularly useful when things begin to get a bit wet, for example. Speaking of this, driving in the wet in ACC isn't massively different from the dry. Improvements have been made in the course of the sim's life, but you can still develop a setup that works well in both conditions without compromising too much speed. So then, what about the future? If you've followed the progress of ACC since its PS4 and Xbox One release back in 2020, you'll know that updates and DLC for the sim tend to arrive for the PC version first, with console iterations available weeks, sometimes months later. Perhaps the delays will reduce in future. After all, these consoles share more DNA with a gaming PC than ever before. If so, console gamers will have the Circuit of the Americas DLC to look forward to this year, as well as a new Ferrari challenge car, the BMW M2 CS Racing, and the latest Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Challenger. We'll be sure to update you when all of these updates and more arrive for console and PC in the future. If you don't want to miss this, then make sure you're subscribed to the Traxion channel, and ringing that bell ensures you won't miss a single video in future. As ever, thanks for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.